Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm hoping to share the many benefits of creativity and the positive impact it can have on our well-being. So working in healthcare can put us at increased risk of burnout, especially in the current climate of unrelenting demands and diminishing resources. Maintaining good boundaries, taking care of your physical health, and drawing on social support in and out of work are all key to supporting your well-being in this challenging line of work. A further resource that is less commonly talked about is creativity. So in the presentation today, I'm going to discuss how creativity can act as a buffer against chronic stress and burnout, and also give you some pointers on how you can nurture more creativity in your life. So what is creativity? We often think of creativity as referring to the arts, the accomplishments of painters, writers, or composers. Yet creativity is an innate human characteristic and one that uniquely sets us apart from other species. Consider how many different ways humans have developed to build homes, cook eggs, or make clothes. These solutions are beyond what we need to survive, yet they're imbued with meaning, pleasure, and joy. So, the creativity researcher and psychologist Frank Barron defined everyday creativity as something, a product, idea, or behavior that is both original and meaningful. A creative act is one done with intention. It creates something that didn't exist before and has meaning to you. It doesn't need to be meaning in the deep philosophical sense, but meaning in that it communicates something, solves a problem, or has an impact. And this isn't about producing art intended for a gallery, but about the process of tapping into your own innate creativity in a way that's meaningful to you. Whether the purpose is to create something beautiful or useful, or just to give yourself time to play. So creativity can protect against burnout, and it might be helpful for me to give you a definition here. So burnout is characterized by emotional exhaustion, a lack of personal accomplishment, a detachment or cynicism towards work, and one can experience some or all of these dimensions to varying degrees. It results from chronic workplace stress due to demands outstripping resources. Rates of burnout in healthcare have never been higher. Organisational and political factors are responsible for unprecedented levels of service demand, dwindling resources, and a massive retention and recruitment crisis. We can feel helpless in the face of these systemic issues that we have no control over. But it's also true that there are resources we can draw on to help sustain and empower us, and creativity is one such important resource. Creativity can help buffer us against the strains of working in healthcare by helping us to switch off. So, being able to switch off and disconnect from work in your free time is crucial to managing a stressful job, especially one that is emotionally taxing. So, studies show that being able to psychologically detach from work at the end of the day or shift mediates the impact of job demands on burnout risk. But this can be very hard to do, particularly when your work involves a lot of complex cognitive labor. Creative tasks can really help with this because they require concentration and often the use of our hands. This taxes the working memory, meaning that there's less room for our brain to continue to think about work. So finding rest is also really important. So creative tasks such as painting, knitting, drawing, or writing require us to physically slow down. Absorbing ourselves in the sensory experience of the materials we're working with can help us achieve a flow state and soothe the autonomic nervous system. Creative endeavors don't need to be calm and quiet, though. We can also find rest in more energetic pursuits like dancing. Especially if what you need is emotional rather than physical rest, find the creative pace that suits what you need. Connecting with others. So creative hobbies can help us to connect with people around us, guard us against the encroaching withdrawal and disconnection of burnout. We can connect to like-minded communities who share our love for a particular craft. We can create gifts for people and keep them in mind whilst we create. And we can use our creativity to connect to the values and causes that really matter to us. And the Craftivist movement is a great example of this. And you can find their website online, some really great examples of some of the really lovely creative pieces of work that they do. Rehumanize. So working in big institutions like the NHS can be a very dehumanizing experience. We can feel devalued, ignored, and unseen. I often hear health professionals talk about how they feel like just a name on a rota, with their unique skills and needs disregarded. Even worse, many experience a sense that even their basic human needs can't be met at work. The need to go to the toilet, eat healthy food, rest. So, having a creative outlet is a chance to make your unique stamp on the world. Even if no one else ever sees what you produce, you get to choose what and how you do it and can respond to your own sensory needs without having to ask permission. And finally, cultivating that self compassion. So, as healthcare professionals, we are usually awful at being kind and compassionate towards ourselves, but we're very good at heaping criticism and judgment on top of our already battered souls. Creativity is about play, and making mistakes is part and parcel of that process. It's a great opportunity to practice tolerating and even accepting mistakes, uncertainty and imperfection. It also gives us opportunities to learn how to tune into what we need in any given moment so we can respond with care. So, how do we bring more creativity in our lives? So, one is filling your feed. We know that viewing art can give us an emotional boost and reduce physiological stress, whether it's viewed in person, in a book, or electronically. If you're like most of the people I meet, you might be drawn to social media in times of stress, which can sometimes make it worse. If you can fill your feed with creative inspiration, this will not only help to balance out the doom and gloom, but give your brain an instant dopamine hit. Work and play. So, finding ways to bring creativity into your workplace. This can be a great way to build connections with colleagues and make work a better place to be. So, for many years, I worked in an inpatient environment, and there were a few of us on the ward that were quite creative, and we wanted to bring some of those skills onto the ward. So we set up an art group for the patients, and we'd take it in turns to co-facilitate this, and it was really fun. And we also there's another colleague of mine who loved drama, so she set up a drama group. So look for those opportunities in your workplace too, where you can bring your creativity. Thirdly, developing an everyday creative practice. So if you can do something creative every day, no matter how small, you'll soon start to notice the benefits. Spending just 5 minutes a day is all you need. If you can have some basic tools ready and available, you can grab them whenever you have a free moment. I think we've just seen one of our peers today on the call showing us her knitting, which is lovely. And knitting is great because it's really portable and you can make progress towards a bigger project by doing just a few stitches at a time. Um, so finally, carving out the time. So if you find it hard to establish a regular creative practice or you want to deepen your skills, it could be a great idea to sign up to a regular class, a one-off workshop, or a retreat. This will allow you to really focus on the creative process without all the distractions of everyday life. And this is a great way to give yourself some restorative time and develop a deeper connection to your own creativity, so that this can be a resource you can continue to draw on to help sustain you in your work and prevent burnout. So, Sean McNiff, 92, talked about how art can be a kind of medicine for the soul. In all ages and cultures, people have turned to the arts to express joy and sorrow, to celebrate success, or to find solace in times of uncertainty. The simple process of art making, when approached with curiosity and attentiveness, has healing properties for our mental health. If you're into mindfulness, you might have tried one of the colouring books for adults that are now widely available. The activity of colouring in provides order and structure for the mind, whilst giving you an element of choice as you pick your colours and the types of pens or crayons or patterns that you prefer. However, if you would like to expand your creative repertoire, many activities from the discipline of art therapy can be used for personal self-reflection. So making art can help us unwind as we focus our attention fully on the task in hand. Creative activity promotes a state of flow, which has a restorative impact on our well-being. Being in flow means being totally absorbed in what you're doing in a way that makes the time fly past. And this releases stress relieving hormones that have a positive impact on our brains. Doing something creative can also bring a sense of playfulness and experimentation into our lives. Often, a simple image tells a story of how we feel in a way that words cannot easily capture. And as we engage with the deeper meaning of our artwork, we can find unexpected layers of emotion and explore new possibilities for our personal situation. So, there are many benefits of art therapy. Creative arts have been used for the purposes of therapy for these very reasons here. Arts and creative therapies may be helpful if you find it difficult to put your thoughts and feelings into words. They may also help with addressing painful feelings or experiences, including experiences of trauma. And the main types of arts and creative therapies in the UK are dance movement therapy, drama therapy, music therapy, and visual art therapy. So, we've discussed how creativity can be useful in supporting our well-being, and I'd now like to share some creative ideas, such as developing a self-soothing box or kit. So, self-soothing essentially refers to behaviors that we use to restore emotional balance when we're feeling distressed or going through a really difficult time. So, self soothing is something we often learn to do very early on in our lives. However, many of us may have never learnt how to self soothe, how to do those often simple things that make us feel better. Hence, we might resort to unhelpful coping strategies when we're feeling distressed. Finding ways to calm and soothe yourself will help you to cope with overwhelming emotions so that you feel calmer and in control. Often, when people experience overwhelming emotions, they may be quite hard on themselves, and this can often make the emotion feel stronger. Self soothing is the opposite of this, teaching us to comfort and take care of ourselves. It can thus calm strong emotions. Self soothing can be done using any or all of the five senses: touch, taste, smell, sound, and vision. So, our senses can be powerful emotional triggers. A certain smell can quickly fill us with memories and their accompanying feelings. A soothing touch can help us feel safe and calm. The right music can energize, fill us with peace, or move us to tears. Even though we've had these experiences, we don't always think to consciously harness the power of our senses to help ourselves feel better. And while some of us have learnt over the years how to soothe and calm ourselves when upset, not everyone is able to do so. Creating a self soothe kit allows you to use your five senses to calm yourself. It helps prevent overwhelming distress. You can make an effort every day to incorporate soothing things into your routine and environment, or you can utilize sensory soothing to ground in yourself when you start to get upset. Mindfulness is also an important component of sensory self soothing. So, as you engage in self soothing, focus your attention on the activity and the sensory experience. When stressing thoughts come back up, set them aside and refocus on your senses and the present moment. To create a self soothing kit, get a small box or bag to collect your soothing items, making sure to include something that engages each of your five senses. I find it useful to brainstorm ideas and then put the kit together and try different ideas to see what works best. And for some added creativity, you can decorate your box, try adding colour, images, words, and phrases that help you feel calm and safe. So you might want to develop your own self-soothing plan. So thinking about each of our senses in turn. So here are some examples of how you can soothe your five senses. So starting with vision. It might be helpful to hold in mind comforting images, perhaps of people you know, or a picture of your favorite place. You could look at photos of places or people that have happy memories. You could go for a walk outside or in the garden, if you have one. So you can mindfully notice your surroundings, notice everything that you can see. Um, I find this really helpful, particularly, now whilst the weather's lovely, it's really lovely to be outdoors. So you might want to include something that you can touch. Now, this serves as a really good distraction for your hands. Play-Doh, fidget cubes, spinners, stress balls are great for this. They're satisfying to touch and easy to put force into and relieve some stress. It can encourage your muscles to relax, which is what many methods to reduce anxiety involve. You can also include objects such as a cuddly toy, a soft blanket, silky scarf, and anything else that you find comforting to touch. So, what I'd like to share now is this idea around inspiration stones. Now, this kind of draws from the idea of worry stones or strength stones. And this is a really great way of creating something self-soothing and grounding, which can offer you strength when you might feel distressed. So, you can paint your stone or leave it natural. Think of a positive word or phrase that inspires you and gives you strength and write it on the stone. You can decorate it, be really creative, but most importantly, have fun. And place your stone somewhere that you'll see it so that you can be reminded of the positive message. You might carry it in your pocket. If you feel anxious, grip the stone tightly to feel more grounded or rub it with your fingers. Some clients that I've worked with carry their stones around with them, and they've said that it's prevented them from having a panic attack and reduced the need to self-harm as it's really helped to ground them. So hearing certain sounds and music can also be soothing. Some people prefer classical music, whilst others might like pop music or songs. Perhaps you could make a playlist of all your favourite songs to listen to when you're feeling upset. When I'm feeling low in mood, I like to listen to upbeat or happy, uplifting music. Others might like to hum their favourite song to themselves or sing it in their head. Sounds from nature, such as birds, animals, or the sea, might be comforting. It might help to talk to someone who will reassure you or to make a recording of their voice that you can play in times of need. So it can help to make a hot drink or eat a favorite food. Just savor the taste of your favorite treat by eating it really slowly. You might want to suck on an ice cube or an ice lolly and just feel it slowly melt in your mouth. Just paying really close attention to the sensation of the taste, the temperature, um, so, another example of this is sort of mindful eating. So there are these 7 habits here. So when you eat, just eat. Minimize any distractions, example, talking, watching television, checking emails. Have a fixed portion of food instead of unlimited access to food. Eating with your non-dominant hand. So if you're a right-hander, eat with your left hand. What this does is it slows down eating and promotes that beginner's mind, that fresh experience in enjoying your food and really tasting what you're eating. Paying full attention to and savoring the flavor, the food, seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, tasting that food as though you're eating it for the first or last time in your life. Taking that one spoon at a time, putting down the spoon and finishing the food in your mouth before going for the next spoon of food on the plate. Breathing and smiling in between spoons of food. So breathing in, I smile, and breathing out, I'm calm. At the end of the meal, mentally say something nice to the people who've contributed to the availability of the food. Example, the farmer, the son, the cook. So, different people find different smells soothing. So, try to find one that suits you. This could be perfume or a moisturizer, a scented candle, an essential oil like jasmine or lavender, a herb or spice like cinnamon, or perhaps a flower. Some people like smells that remind them of happy times or of people who've been comforting and safe, such as the smell of baking cakes and biscuits. Others like the smell of nature and breathing in the fresh air or the smell of coffee. The great thing about developing your self-soothing kit is that when you're anxious or distressed, you have everything in one place and you don't have to think about what you should do. You have all these strategies in your kit. Self-soothing doesn't need to be limited to things you carry in a bag or box, obviously. It can include many other out-of-the-box ideas like going for a walk after it rains, baking cookies, sitting by a stream, stroking your dog. The list is endless. The most important thing is to remember don't be hard on yourself. Some self-soothing ideas might work on one day, but not the other. And this is very much trial and error. Develop and cultivate your ideas around self-soothing. What works for one might not work for another. So do be kind to yourself. These self-soothing boxes can also help you feel grounded when you're stressed or anxious. And there are some grounding techniques that I'd now like to introduce you to. So, grounding exercises are things that you can do to bring yourself into contact with the present moment, the here and now. And they can be quick strategies like taking 3 deep belly breaths or longer, more formal exercises like meditation. Different strategies work for different people, and there's no wrong way to ground yourself. The main aim is to keep your mind and body connected and working together. So, grounding exercises are helpful for many situations where you find yourself becoming overwhelmed or distracted by distressing memories, thoughts, or feelings. If you find yourself getting caught up in strong emotions like anxiety or anger, or if you catch yourself engaging in stressful, circling thoughts, or if you experience a strong, painful memory or a flashback, or if you wake up from a nightmare with a pounding heart, grounding exercises can help bring you back down to earth. It can be helpful to have a selection of grounding exercises that you can draw upon at different times. Just like no one technique works for all people, we often find that not all techniques work at all times. So, one thing you can do is look over some lists of grounding exercises and write down all the ones you think might work for you. Carry your personal list with you, and then when you find yourself needing relief, you can run your eyes down your list and pick out the strategy that would be most helpful in that situation. So these are just some examples of grounding exercise, and I'd love to hear some examples that you might have um, in the chat. So one might be reminding yourself of who you are now. Say your name, say your age now, say where you are now, say what you've done today, say what you'll do next. Taking 10 slow breaths, focusing your attention fully on each breath, on the way in and on the way out, and just say the number of the breaths to yourself as you exhale. Um, Splash some water on your face, just notice how it feels. Notice the temperature of the water. Notice how the towel feels as you dry your face. Use words in your mind to describe those sensations. If you're sitting, feel the chair under you and the weight of your body and legs pressing down onto the chair. Notice the pressure of the chair or the floor or the table against your body and limbs. If you wake during the night, remind yourself who you are and where you are. Tell yourself who you are and where you are, what year it is, what age you are now. Look around the room and just notice familiar objects and name them. Feel the bed that you're lying on, the warmth or coolness of the air, and just notice any sounds that you hear. Turn your attention to the clothes on your body, whether your arms and legs are covered or not, and the sensation of your clothes as you move in them. Notice how your feet feel to be encased in shoes or socks or resting on the floor. If you're with other people and you feel comfortable with them, concentrate closely on what they're saying and doing and remind yourself why you're with them. Um, Stop and listen. Notice and name what sounds you can hear nearby. Start with the closest or loudest sounds. Gradually move your awareness of sounds outward, so you're focusing on what you can hear in the distance. Holding a mug of tea in both hands and just feel its warmth. Inhale its scent. Don't rush drinking it. Just take small sips and take your time tasting each mouthful. Look around you, notice what's in front of you and to each side. Again, name and notice the qualities of large objects and then smaller ones. Another idea is picking one interesting object in your field of vision. Trace its outline with your eyes as if you were drawing its lines. Notice 5 things you can see, 5 things you can hear, 5 things you can feel, taste, or smell. Now, if any of you have a pet, spending some time with them could be really grounding. Notice what's special and different about them. Run your hands over something with an interesting texture. Describe it in your mind as if you've never felt anything like it before, like you're doing this for the first time. Again, another idea is getting a sultana or a sweet or some seeds and just focus on how it looks, feels, and smells. Put it in your mouth, roll it around on your tongue. Just notice how that feels. Chew it really slowly, mindfully, before noticing what it tastes like and how it feels to swallow. Put on a piece of instrumental music, give it all of your attention. Notice the sensations that you experience while you're listening to that music. Another option with music is to sit with a piece of paper and a pen and start drawing a line as the music plays and just representing it in the abstract on the page. Just follow the music with the pen and just see what strange shape or design that you come up with on the paper. If you have a garden or some plants, tend to them for a bit. Plants and actual soil can be an excellent grounder. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm just going to leave you with some references and some resources. So artist therapy, but that article's really interesting. So sort of refer to that in my presentation as well. There's a website called creativityforwellbeing.com. Some really great ideas on there. There's also Mindful Gym. It's a YouTube video series with some really great ideas for mindfulness. And there's also another article called Creativity and Wellbeing, a meta-analysis. Some really interesting data there about creativity and the impact on wellbeing. And these are our details for the hub. Thank you so much for listening today.